it's 9 and 1 are doing well. So 9 and 1 African American males are not in jail. That's the narrative that you need to understand. In my work with BB community, and when I think about the question, what are the three things that you need in order to move forward in life, young men? You have to have a dream, you have to believe in your dream, and more importantly, you have to change the narrative on how you're perceived in society. Because people are only going to view you the way in which you view yourself. I can recall when I went to Wayne State in undergrad, and I only had 2 suits, and I wore those 2 suits every day. People looked at me and they asked me, who was I? And I told them I'm a millionaire. I wore those 2 suits for Halloween and they asked me, who am I? I said, I'm a millionaire. I wore 5 shirts, 5 ties, 2 suits, and trust me, I made it to becoming a millionaire because I believed that I was a millionaire when I wasn't there. So you have to have a dream, you have to believe in your dream, you have to change the narrative and pull yourself out of that conversation, that deficit language that you can't and that you're not. What I'm proud of hearing thus far is, going back to the question around networking, Michigan man, Michigan man, Michigan man, Michigan. So network starts with just the fact that everybody up here in some form or fashion has a connection to the University of Michigan. So building on what Dr. Bridges stated earlier and extending the conversation, networking is finding something in common with somebody and build on that. And that'll help you realize that dream. So you have to have that dream, believe it, and more importantly, change your narrative.
Appreciate that, sir. My next question is directed to Mr. Stevens. When talking about life skills for young men and what they need to know, what are some other attributes that you think we should have going into the college level?
Going to college, I think one of the most important things, especially if you haven't been on your own before, which most people probably haven't. I don't know if I plan on going to school out of state, but self-discipline is probably one of the biggest things that I think everybody needs, because partying is going to be there. Monday through Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You can party broad daylight, late at night, whenever. So the discipline to know when to cut yourself off, when things need to get done, that's one of the most important. There won't be anybody that will tell you, period. You know, I was 600 miles away from home in Clarksville, Tennessee, so I could hop on the road and drive 12 hours and come home whenever I got ready. So I would just say that's something you have to start practicing right now. You know, I don't know if y'all really know this, but there's little things you could do today that will actually help towards that. Like right now, the language of the room, the body language of the room looks a little unmotivated. And I know it doesn't mean that everybody's not listening, but as a whole, if you just look around this room from where we're sitting, it's not looking good, fellas. I mean, slumping in chairs. Some of y'all are not, and I know how it is. I used to hate going to assemblies and whatnot too, but you could be in class, so which one would you rather do? It's my thing. Because you gotta think about it. You have to be here anyway, right? You come here every day, you don't have a choice. If you don't come, you're gonna be in truancy. And then you can see this man in court. So which one would you rather be? You have to be here anyway, so you might as well take something from it because you don't really have a choice. So you have to just have your own perspective on things. You have to just decide that you're not going to feel whatever it is you want to do. Going to school too, you can't let other people drag you down. It says you're having a mentor. That's also really important. I want y'all to know that you will never learn how to be rich from a broke person. Period. So with that being said, think about who you spend the majority of your time with. How many of them are rich? There you go. So you might need to tweak who you're hanging around, who you're spending most of your time with, who you're taking advice from. Not everybody is worth listening to. Know who to tune out and know who to listen to. And I think that's big right now too, because a lot of y'all might be missing opportunities that you can't get back, especially to the seniors who are getting ready to be out of here. Because real life is definitely around the corner. I'm just letting y'all know. I'm 20, most of y'all are probably 18, senior class, some of y'all might be 19. So trust me, real life is right there. And if you don't believe me, you will see it. So I would say having a mentor is a big one. And believe in yourself, because no one else is going to do it for you. I think is one of the biggest things I can stress to y'all. Nobody is going to tell you that you're the best, football player. No one's going to tell you you're the best basketball player. No one's going to tell you you're the best anything. You have to believe and make people believe you by the way you behave, by the way you carry yourself, by your actions. Because if you don't, no one will. So those are my three main things.
Thank you, Mr. Stevens. Mr. Anderson, the best trio pack is discipline, talent, and purpose. In your own words, discuss how having discipline combined with talent and purpose is a winner combo to success.
I think first what I would like to do, I like the three of them, but I kind of want to tweak them a little bit if I may. So it's saying discipline, talent, and purpose is the trio for success. And I definitely agree, but I think the first thing that you need is purpose. Because if you haven't identified what you want to do in life, what are you actually here in life to do, then you're just going any which way and you can be directed in any type of traffic you make any times in life. But when you have a purpose, you're going to stay consistent and driven on that purpose. Discipline is very important. And the reason that discipline is important is because if you cannot govern yourself, who will? So the conversation was wrapped around being a law-abiding citizen. I think that black men, first of all, need to have principles and laws of their own. I'm not waiting on the police or my mother to govern and make laws for me. I have my own principles that align me to my goals. So if I went around the room and I asked everybody in here, what is your principle? The number one thing y'all probably would tell me is not to be a snitch, or I'm loyal to my friends. How can that principle get you to be an engineer or astronaut or a lawyer or a basketball player, whatever it is? That principle does not equate to the goal. So you have to have principles that align you to your goals. And as far as having talent, I think talent is really the smallest part, because talent is the door opener. That's it. LeBron James was talented. He didn't win a championship until he got disciplined, got in the gym, he won against San Antonio and was practicing the next day. So talent is just really a small portion, because a lot of people all in here today are talented, but your grades don't reflect that. Your attitude, the way you sit in the room doesn't reflect that. It's just a small portion, and you cannot get caught up on, hey, I can go, when I was in school, I could not go to class, go in and take a test and get a B, just because God blessed me with that level of intellect. So people looked at me as talent. But if you make mistakes in life, then your talent is out the window. Look at Tracy McGrady, one of the most talented players in the NBA, and choke every time you go to the playoffs. So what are you going to do with your talent? So talent is a small portion.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. And this next question is directed towards anyone on the panel. It tags along to the first question. It says, what is the importance of having talent, discipline, and a deep sense of purpose in order to be the best you can be?
Can you ask the question one more time?
I could hear you. Say it one more time.
Can you just ask the question one more time? I guess we can take the question.
Okay, so it says, what is the importance of having talent, discipline, and a deep sense of purpose in order to be the best you can be?
The purpose of having discipline is it takes a very large number of hours and focus to be successful. So what I see in this generation, really just in the world, period, this is adults and students, is everybody has success terminology and success talk. But very few people have success discipline. Dr. True Hustle, he gets up at 3 o'clock in the morning. So millionaires get up at 3 o'clock in the morning. Dr. Eric Thomas is a millionaire. He get up at 3 o'clock in the morning. What time do you think Greg Anderson getting up? 3 o'clock in the morning. So the thing about it is that you have to have discipline, because discipline is very important to reach a goal. Just having a goal does not matter. Like many of you may tell me my grades are 3.5 or 4.0, or I'm not impressed. And the reason, I'm gonna tell you the reason why, because I heard somebody say why. The reason I'm not impressed is because if I ask a 3.5 student, how much energy did you put into getting a 3.5? Most people would tell me 70%, 80%. I played around a little bit. I didn't do my homework all the time. And you still got a 3.5. I'm only impressed when you tell me I buckled down, I locked in 100%, and I got a 4.0 or 3.5. Then I'm impressed. I'm impressed when you give all, when you all in. I'm not impressed at 70%.
I would continue the same idea, but as I stated earlier, I want to flip the script, because often with young black boys, there's this issue of what we do wrong. Your life should not be focused on just staying out of trouble. Your life needs to be focused on the way our program is labeled. It's called Pathway to Excellence. So to go back to this issue of what rules and discipline, well, there are rules and discipline that will make sure that you can get employed, you can pass an employment physical, that you can get an entry-level job. Well, that's great. That's great when you are right out of high school, while you're still in college, working towards your degree. But there's another life out there. There's a whole major, huge, wonderful experience. Because I'll tell you, I know a lot of you think you're having fun now, but some of you have heard the expression, life doesn't begin until you're 40. Well, it may not be 40, but life really gets good when you're out of school, you've got a good job, you can pick your car, it's not your brother's car, when you live in your own house, where you can travel and take your family wherever you want to go, and on and on and on, whatever success means to you. And the reason that I go over that is because success takes effort. If it was easy, as a 3 o'clock example was offered, if it was easy, everybody would do it. It is not easy. There is a major payoff, but there is a price. Now, I'm going to try and sugarcoat it with you. Everybody up here, in one way or another, myself included, work hard. Work hard to excel in whatever the area is. But I also want to underscore one of the things he said that you heard from me in the beginning. Go back to what I said a few minutes ago. When you finish school, everybody essentially will have some high level of income. 1. 2, everybody's going to be competing with similar degrees and colleges and universities that they have attended. The people who make big success are the people who get more because they do more. You get more if you do more. You volunteer to do extra work. Your boss doesn't have to ask you to stay longer. When you see an opportunity to do something that allows you to have your skills shine, you take it. You don't have to be asked to do it. A lot of you hear, many people talk about personal branding. It's part of what this behavior thing is. How do people view you? So earlier, Tony talked about how she was seeing things, and we talked about what we see in the room. When you reach the work world, again, I'm past. Remember, I'm out, work with me. I'm 10 years minimum from where you are today. You're going to be in a boardroom, and you will walk in boardrooms like I have and others of us have up on the stage here. The only black face in there. You have to learn how to be comfortable with that. You have to demonstrate confidence. You have to be able to communicate. You have to have communication skills. That doesn't start with duh. You have to bring a very simple but critical 2 things. You have to know your stuff, which is another topic we may have time to talk about later, is preparation. You might, if you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, you want to make $1 billion. What are you going to do between 3 and 7 p.m., 7 a.m. when everybody else is just about to get up? So don't underestimate the effort that it takes to actually be successful. It's very doable. All of us are an example of that. But what I'm also probably pretty clear about is that when I was in the 11th and 12th grade and I was in your seat, I knew almost nothing about what it was going to take. So my challenge to you, what we do in our program, is to provide you with the information about this other set of skills. It's leadership. And I'm not talking about you get to pick the guys on the court for your 5-5. I'm talking about, can you lead a group of 10 people on a complex project of different ethnicities, men, women, Indians, Chinese, very bright people, often people who are smarter than you. I lead teams all of the time because the work world that you're about to embrace is one where you will never be the smartest person in the room all the time. You might be very bright in one component of a very complex task, but the work world that you're about to encounter presents time after time very complex problem solving. So for the basic skills, you have to be a problem solver. You have to have creativity. But there's an African phrase that I often cite in the group of the kids that I work with, and it's very simple. None of us is as smart as all of us. None of us is as smart as all of us. So the people who get promoted and who are successful individual entrepreneurs, as an example, one skill to learn, are people who can take a small group of people from 2 to 15 and manage the interaction around solving a workplace problem in a way that comes up with good solutions. Good solutions in a big corporation like I work in get you promoted. Big solutions when you're running your own business mean that your business will grow, will make a lot of money, you'll be very happy. So from now on, I want all of you, when you think about being a black kid in Detroit, yes, you gotta stay out of trouble, and yes, you don't want to run into problems with the law, but there's so much more you need to know to really reach your dreams at the highest level. And that's where the mentoring comes in, programs like the one I'll talk to some of you about later. And so to close, you have to have, after you are out of school, a continuous knowledge acquisition process, continually learning about the stuff that you can't learn in school, about how to behave in the work. So give that some time.
I'd also add, in regards to being on purpose, discipline, and talent, I recall June 12, 1987, when I graduated from Murray Wright High, which is now the Frederick Douglass High School. I came out of high school with 2.5 GPA, and everybody asked, so where are you going? And I told them I was going to Florida to go to FAMU. I didn't even fill out an application for FAMU. But I was blessed where I received a letter from Florida Memorial College down in Miami. And I went to Florida Memorial with the goal of becoming a man of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. And I wanted to party. That was my goal the first year of college. I was the first in my family to go to university, and I was the first in my family to flunk out of university. So I flunked out of Florida Memorial, came back home, went to Wayne State University, July 1988, and I ran into my mentor. And when I went into his office, I had this jive talk going on, and my best friend and I, we had like these silk shirts. And back in the 80s, it was silk and jewelry, these espadrille shoes, and we had it going on, right? So we walk in and run into this gentleman, he had on this suit, and his sleeves were rolled up, and he had on his vest. And we said, so, hey man, can you help us get some financial aid or something? He said, you want what? Some financial aid or something, man, help us get in school. He said, you want what? financial aid, man, did you hear us? He said, first, let me let you know that my name is not man. Second, if you want to get financial assistance, may I suggest that you go to the jewelry store and hawk all of your jewelry, then maybe you'll have enough money to pay for your own tuition. Wow. So my best friend and I, we grew up on the north end of Detroit near Northern High School. So we had this street savvy about us. He decided, we both enrolled in school. I hocked all my jewelry and I took his advice. And I saw that man as the man that I wanted to be like. So you gotta find somebody that you want to be like. Back in the 80s and the 90s, it was be like Mike. Well, mine was to be like Reverend Dr. Percy L. Moore. I found that man to be someone that I wanted to not only emulate, but take to the next level. So if you're familiar with Michael Jordan didn't become a phenomenal basketball player because he had talent. And going back to the conversation around talent, he became a phenomenal basketball player because he identified somebody that he wanted to role model, which was Dr. J. And he took Dr. J game to the next level. So your goal is to identify somebody that you want to be like and take it to the next level and move away from that negative narrative that there aren't black men like you or where you want to be and find people that you want to mimic. And the part of the experience that I'm excited about is I have 4 jobs. I do well for myself, and they're really not jobs. They're all hobbies. Again, professor at Madonna University, lecturer at Wayne County Community College, business owner at Dex Design Associates, and I work with BB Community. Oh, and by the way, I'm a husband, a father, a son, an uncle, a community advocate, and I do a lot of stuff to be involved in society. So I say, in order to connect with your purpose, you really got to find somebody that you want to emulate. And then link onto that person that you want to emulate and just take your game to the next level. And more importantly, if you have a spiritual connection, you need to get close and rested in God. I think we don't have enough of that conversation in our community. It is so important to have some semblance of a spiritual connection, because when you have a spiritual connection, going back to what Dr. Bridges stated and Mr. Anderson stated, you are able to not worry about the rules of society because you are already operating in the rules of society, and you're going to take it to the next level. And to move out of the deficit framework, if you look at this, how many of you read the Bible or even saw it? There's a scripture in Ephesians 6, and it says, we war not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers in high places. So you have to realize that it's a spiritual fight that you're fighting. So the things that you see in front of you are not what they appear to be. So don't get caught up on what society's not doing. Don't get caught up on, quote unquote, brothers being locked up. Don't get caught up on all that deficit language. Really look at getting internal and connecting with a higher power and identifying how you can continuously stay locked on your purpose. Take heed to all of the advice that's been shared. Because unlike you, I didn't have anybody in high school sharing this knowledge. That's why I went to college thinking college was about party. But that all occurred before I raised $703.5 million, before I opened up a company, before I started driving the cars that I wanted to drive, and before I became a doctor. So you don't have to, you can short circuit this process by listening to the information that's being shared here.
My question is, what are the largest social issues that African American males face, and what are some solutions to fixing them?
Well, one of the biggest social issues that we confront would still be discrimination. It's not as overt now that it was maybe when I was growing up in the 60s, but it's still there. And one of the things that a lot of you are going to encounter very quickly when you go to college and when you go into a class, you look at this room right now, and I don't believe there are any white individuals here in this room right now. That will change. This will be the last time. It's a couple where? Where? All right. Well, the thing is that the numbers will reverse very quickly, and you'll end up going into a situation on a campus where the minority population is 10%. And you'll end up going into a room where you are the minority. All the cultures, all the language, everything's very different. You find yourself very isolated. And
one of the issues that you're going to have is when you go to a university, especially when you are in the minority, you'll go into a room and everybody's eyeballing you, or you're eyeballing them and sizing you up, and people will look at a black male and think you are something less than what you are. And that will be something that you will encounter very quickly. I remember that when I was in high school, and it was in 11th grade, and it was a math teacher, and the class was rather small, and the class was being disrupted. The more he got frustrated, the louder and disobedient the classroom got. And he started shaking his head, and, oh, this is going to be sad, nobody here can go to college, and the class just ate that up. People just thought that was hilarious. But when the class was over and I was leaving, I was offended. Because when I was walking out to school and going home, the only thing that kept resonating in my mind is, that guy thinks I'm dumb. And I just couldn't get that out of my mind, and the more I thought about it, the angrier I got. And then I had to ask myself this question: what did you do to make him think you weren't dumb? You didn't do the work. You didn't invest in anything. He's looking at your paper, the work is not there, the answers are all wrong. Why would he think you're dumb? And I just said to myself, well, I just chose not to do the work. I didn't bring my book home. It wasn't cool. None of the cool people carried their books home. None of the cool people did their homework. But the more I thought about it, I just said, well, look, this is not what I want. I don't want somebody looking at me, looking down my nose, looking that I'm just some set aside, taking up some space because it's just a set aside to get the numbers right. I'm here because I'm good. And I just had to have an inner moment where I said, well, I never tested my mind. I never knew what I was capable of doing. My grades weren't any more impressive than anyone else, but I just said, well, you know what? From this day forward, I'm going to see how fast this car will go. I'm going to do what I need to do, and I'm going to put my best foot forward, and I'm going to see just what I'm capable of doing. And very quickly, I began to separate myself from the people that were in high school. Now, for my last 4 semesters in high school were straight A's. And so, but that was the exact opposite of my first 2 years. And it all became just tumbling down when I just said to myself, look, this ain't what I want. I was seeing some of my friends get involved in robberies. Some were selling drugs, stealing cars, those kind of things. That's not what I want. And so I decided at that time that I'm going to let them go their way and I'm going to go my way. And then when you end up going to a college or university, you start looking at some people in the room, and they were looking at me the same way that math professor was looking at me. And I said, oh, you think I'm dumb. You don't think I can do the work. Well, I'm going to prove you wrong. And that was one of the things that stuck with me all the way through Michigan. A lot of people were going to other colleges. And I know you've known about the litigation about affirmative action programs in Michigan, and why are we letting these folks in here if their numbers aren't the same as everyone else's, and we're going to take this matter to the Supreme Court. Michigan is only for the best and the brightest. And how you got in is one thing. Nobody's going to give you a degree going out. But on the other hand, there's so many people on that campus thinking that you don't belong there. And when I was in the class, I said, well, there are 100 people in this class, and there are 8 or 9 minorities. And when the grades came out, I wasn't at the top of the class, but I wasn't last either. And that stuck in a lot of people's craw with, hey, the black guy that I thought was dumb did better said, yeah, you're right. And I'm thinking that right now, when I'm looking at the room right now, everybody here is not grasping what I'm saying, but I know what I'm saying right now is resonating to some people. And one of the comments that we had here at the table, I don't think anybody here really understands what it's like to go from a 1 point whatever in high school to graduating from the University of Michigan's medical school. That is beyond words of phenomenal accomplishment. That is someone who has put in work that very few people can relate to. The University of Michigan's medical school, not undergrad, not working on a master's degree. You have people all over the world trying to get into that medical school and trying to graduate from there. And for someone to have this moment, and I know he hasn't shared it with you, but to say, you know what, these guys are here selling the dough, breaking into houses, stealing cars. Well, that ain't what I want. I want something better for myself. And I'm going to put the work in to achieving some of the things that I think that I'm capable of doing. And so that's one of the things that we come together in a panel like this. We're all going back to that one little moment. I don't think I've heard anyone here say, well, you know something, every time that I stepped in the classroom, I was at the top of the class and I got all A's and everything was just a cakewalk for me. I haven't heard that at all. All I've heard is somebody saying, you know what, I had that self moment where I decided to turn things around and to see exactly how good I can be, how far I can go, and how much I can achieve. And they did it. And on the other hand, I had folks here who I've grown up with who very shortly after I graduated from high school ended up, caught up in a murder, trying to rob some convenience store, trying to break into some house. The cases that I have right now, I have 2 cases right now on my docket where someone got in an argument over something that was written on Facebook, and somebody decided that they were going to do something about it, went over to a house, and instead of fighting, somebody pulls out some guns, and a 3-year-old baby gets shot in the house. And the baby was called a miracle. On the news, I represent one of the people who was accused of having that gun, going out there shooting over nothing. Last Friday, I was in Frank Murphy. 4 individuals, right out of high school, 17, 18, 19, decided that they didn't want to work at McDonald's. They didn't want to work for Chump Change. They decided they wanted to rob the dope man. Dope man being the person that sells medical marijuana, legitimately. We're going to call this person up, set up this fake robbery. The only problem was the person who had a shotgun pulled the trigger and killed the guy. And all he had was $300. They didn't even get the money. They didn't get the dough. All they got was a murder charge. 4 people throwing away their lives over nothing. And I can go on and on and on and on about those kind of things, this silly type of decisions. And when you're in an auditorium like this, I never want to come in and start talking about the bad sides, the downsides, because, when I look at the room right now, all the people that I represent, they never got as far as you. They aren't even in school. They stopped going. And so I'm looking at the people here who haven't given up on going to school and trying to do things the right way. Because this is the only way for the vast majority of the folks to make it out.
I want to take the opportunity to answer the question, take the opportunity to get it more diversified and the answers that we're given. Because a lot of times we look at our meals and we think about crime and things like that. And a lot of times some of y'all don't have crime issues. Some of y'all just lazy. Some of y'all just have a lack of confidence. And we're not even looking or trying to sell some dope or murder somebody or think about guns. I think one thing that America, is two things that I'm going to talk about. One thing that America hides from us is that we can celebrate small victories. So I want you to give yourself a round of applause for being a student at one of the most prestigious high schools. Celebrate the small victories. This student sitting at other high schools that did not pass the exam or whatever you had to do to get here, because this is not free enrollment from my understanding. And they wish they could be in your place. So celebrate the small victories. Now let me ask you this. How many of us would want to have $1 million? In office, how many people want to have $1 million? If I could give you $1 million. That's almost every hand in here. How many people would want a stronger work ethic? If you look around you, the hands, every hand did not go back up. So what America hides from us is what's valuable. And a lot of times we are too focused on results and not process. So we focused on $1 million. We focus on graduating high school. You in the 9th grade focus on graduating. That's the wrong focus. The focus is on process. Because if you are in tune with what it takes to graduate or what it takes to get $1 million, no one can ever take that away from you. So always be focused on process. I want to wrap it up and give you something tangible to leave with. I know you heard a lot of information. The only person I saw videotaping was this young man in front of us in the second row. I didn't see anyone with paper out or anything. So if you have some paper in your book bag and a pen, can you please take it out? Draw a line down the middle. Whatever your goals are, I want you to write them on one side. So write goals at the top. Whatever your goal is, if it's to be a doctor, if it's to be an entrepreneur, a lawyer, whatever, write that on one side. And on the other side, you will write daily schedule. And from the time you wake up to the time you go to sleep, you should list what you do. Take a good look at your daily schedule and ask yourself, can this schedule produce a lawyer? Can this schedule produce a doctor? And if you got a lot of chill time, a lot of phone time in your schedule, then you know you need to revise your schedule. So that test right there, you can constantly do that test. Goals versus daily activity. And goals do not matter if you do not have the right daily activity. Value, process, not results.
I would add to that question as well as the question around the biggest social issue in America. How many of you believe you're a minority? Raise your hand. Sad part is you're not.
Be your own man. Define yourself. And the easiest way to do that, and I'm gonna get practical because we offer a lot of ideas, but we need to walk out of here with something different tomorrow. And so, how many of you are aware of what an image book is?
An image book.
An image book. Okay, I want you to look it up. The second idea is that there is a lot of challenge. Go back to the earlier question about males. There are a lot of challenges that are unique to a black male, and it's too hard without spiritual support, etc. You have to have a circle, maybe 2 or 3 people out of your family, and 2 or 3 of the right friends to continually encourage you and you encourage them. It is difficult. All of us have had to go through a lot to be who we are. We persisted because we had a tight circle of people to support us.
Thank you.